We'll continue where we left off last week about the shvuah that Rochav is demanding from the Meraglim. So in order to give us a little bit more of a scope of what we want to talk about today, I'd like to read for you in the klolim of starting and launching a war, steht in Teire in Parsha Shoftim. Ki sikav el ir li lochem aleh v'karasa eleh l'sholem v'hoyo im sholem ta'ancho ufotachto lo v'hoyo kol ha'om hanimtzo bo ir l'chol ha'mas v'avoducho v'im lo yisashlo imcho v'osto imcho milchoma v'tzato aleo unesono Hashem elokecho beyodecho v'yikiso es kol zechuro lefi chorev rak hanoshim ve'ataf ve'abeime וכל אשר יהיה בעיר כל שלולו טובוז לך ואוכלתו שלל איבך שנוסן השם אלוקיך לך. כן תעשה לכל האורים הרחוקים ממך מאוד אשר לא מאורי הגויים האלה אינו. רק מאורי העמים האלה אשר השם אלוקיך נויסן לך נחלו לא ישחיה כל נשומו כי אחריהם תחרים הם החיתי והאמורי והקלייני הפריזי אחי והאיבוס ציווך השם אלוקיך. Comes again Rashi and says, Ki sikar vel ir b'milchemes reshus hakos medaber kemo shemefurish bo'inyon ken ta'aseh lekol ha'orim ha'rechaikos. Rashi shita is that the fundamental difference between Zion Amomim, which is the Knaine Achita Emoire Aprizi, and other nations, which is not milchemes mitzvah but milchemes reshus, that in Zion Amomim, the Milchama has a definition of Milchemes Mitzvah. And therefore, you don't have to give him an opportunity. There's no Din Kriyas Shalom. You don't have an opportunity to call peace. You don't negotiate before the war. And Milchemes Zion Amomim, which is a Milchemes Mitzvah, the Torah says, L'sachai kol neshama, there is no Din of Karasa Eleo L'Shalom. That's Rashi Shita. The Milchama Sh'ara Umois. The Milchama is not a Milchemes Mitzvah, it's Milchemes Reshus. You want to start a war. So before you launch a war, there is a halacha of the Karasa Eleh L'Sholem under certain circumstances. Das ist Shitas Rashi ala Torah bekama mekremes. Comes again the Ramban ala Torah, and you have the Ramban in front of you. Zog the Ramban, כוסף הרב זה מספרי ששון לשום כלושן הזה במלחמת ראשון הכוסף מדבר והכוונה לרבויסנו בכוסף הזה אינו אלא לא יאמר שהפרשה בסופו תחלק בשתי המלחמות אבל קריאת השולם אפילו במלחמת מצווה היא שחייבים לקרוא לשולם אפילו לשבעת עממים. זאת הרמב"ן נחתי כתוב. Of course the deen of קריאה לשולם even במלחמת זין עממים. What's the rise of the Ramban? שהרי מוישה קורא לשולם בשיחה מלך האמורי ולא היה עובר על עשר ועל עשר שבפרשה כי אחרים תחים ולשחיים כל נשומה. If Moshe calls upon Sichin, Melech HaEmoyer is one of the Zion Amorim, what's Moshe starting a negotiation, diplomatic negotiation with him? He's the Din of Achrim Tachrim L'Sachai Kol Neshama. Aval lo hefresh b'neihem, so the Rambam, what's the difference between Milchemes Mitzvah and Milchemes Reshus? Again, Milchemes Mitzvah is a Milchem of Zion Amorim, and Milchemes Reshus is Shara Umeis. Kasher lo yisashlim, the Osta Milchema, what happened once they don't reciprocate and they don't answer, they don't want to answer up to the diplomatic relationship. Shetzivak also berechoikois lahakois kol zchua velchayis anoshim ve'ataf bezchorim ve'ube'ore ha'amim tziva lahachim gam ataf ve'anoshim. So the Ramban the Chiluk is, what happened if they don't? They both, you have to send them emissaries, an ambassador to make peace. What happened if they don't? So by Zion Amim you kill everyone, anoshim noshim ve'taf. By Orim HaRechoikos, by Shar Amim, then you kill the Zchorim and you mechaya the Noshim and the Taf. Zog the Ramban, ובגמור ירושלמי אומר רב שמואל בן נחמני ישוע קיים את הפרשה הזאת. מה עושה ישוע שולח פרוזדיגמו בכל מוקים שהיו לבוא יקויסה בו? מי שמבקש להשלים יבוא וישלים, מי שמבקש לילך ילך ולוי. Mish mevakesh lasas milchama yasem milchama. Hagirgoshi pona ve'olach. He went to Africa. Steht Teisus in Gittin Medrash. The Girgoshi went to Africa. All the people, Panav came to Africa. He says, "Do is the Girgoshi." That's he came in. The first thing he said is the Girgoshi. Agivoinim ishlimu also le'yom Yeshua Shalom. Shloishim ve'echod melochim she'osu milchama hipilam HaKadosh Baruch. So the Ramban spells out clearly that Tzai Milchemes Reshus and Tzai Milchemes Mitzvah, there is a din of Kriya L'Shalom. Yeshua called upon Shalom all 31 Melachim. Girgoshi was the only one that was exception to the rule. He escaped and he went away. And the Givonim, we'll see the whole parsha of the Givonim, they really came to make a peace. They were bluffers, they were shakranim. We're going to deal with them later in the whole parsha of the Givonim. Obazei steht in the Rambam. The Gemara in Maseches Soite in Daf Lamed Hey steht in the Gemara Toner Rabbanon Ketzed over Yisrael Sayardi Kosvu Esatei Rabbi Yudomer Al Gabe Avonim Ksovu Shenema VeKosavto La Avonim Eskol Divrei Atayra Azois ואחר כך סודו אויסום בסיד. אומר לרבי שמעון לדבריך, היך לומדו אומויס של אויסה הזמן תוירה, אומר להם בינו יסיירו נוסם בהם הקודש ברוך הוא ושיגרו נוטרין שלהם וקילפו אססיד ויסיעו. ועל דובר זה נסחתם גזר דילם לבאר שחס שאוי להם ללמוד ולא ילמדו. They wrote the entire Torah on the Avonim, the day that they came to cross the Jordan River, and they should have learned. So the Gemara, the question is, what happened? Did they write the Torah and then they painted it with a seed, gekalacht, the Avonim, and then they sent Neutrin, they sent some kind of a craftsman to unveil, to scrape off the seed. Habshimon al gabe seed kosvu, v'kosvu lem lemata lemam asher lilamdu eschem la'ases lamadeto, shim hoyu choizrim b'tshuva, hoyu mekablim oisom. Steht klar, shim oyu choizrim b'tshuva, hoyu mekablim oisom. Zogt Rashi, le'el min eksiv hachem tachribim, those that kosel lomar loidia le'shivas umois hayoishvim mechutz le'eretz Yisrael. של גבול ישראל, של נצטבו לאחים אל אויסה שבתוך גבולם, נצטבו לאחים כדי שלא ילמו אויסה מעשיהם המקולקולים, אבל אויסה מהיושם חוץ עליהם, אתם חייזם בתשובה נקבל אסכם, ושבסויכו הם מקבלים, שמחמסירו אויסים, ואוכי גרסין לבית הספטים, אתם חייזם אנה מקבלים אויסה. Rashi comes along and learns the Sugyas Agmor in Saito, that they wrote the entire Torah the day they came, and they tell them, man, the bottom line, it says, Asher lo yil lamdu eschem lases kechol ato evois lo madeto, shim chozu b'tshuva. It says Rashi, tshuva helps for Zion Amamim, but only non-residents of Eretz Canaan. If you have a Knaini that he immigrated to Mitzrayim, to Syria, came to live in Eretz Yisrael, and him, if he does tshuva, minem tamarai. But the people who are sitting b'toich Eretz Yisrael, the Rashi, you don't accept them. You cannot do tshuva. Why? Because after machmas yiro yoisim, they really do not. Well, Kadosh Baruch Hu did not want. You should learn from the Maisa to Eves, from the Zion Amamim. So he said, we'll give him a chance. But who do we give a chance to? Those who weren't there, Nishkin citizens. You know, those who did not live in Eretz Canaan. If they came from Chutzlos, from Yarden, from Mitzrayim, from Syria, from Eretz Shino, from Amay Moav, wherever they came from, and they come to Eretz Yisrael, they want to do tshuva, you accept. Ones who were in Eretz Yisrael, you don't accept. Comes again, Taisis. Teima, eicho kibluo leRachov, sherei oisa miknainim shebesoicho. Rachov was somebody she had a Knaini passport, and she was a resident of Eretz Canaan. So she's not from the outside. How do you makabel Rachov to accept her, to become became Yeshua's wife? How do you accept her? She hoisa miknainim shebesoicho, the isa besifri parshas ba'aloischo, umay misha oisa me'am shenemar l'sechai kol neshama, asher kirvo atzmo, כך קרבה עמוקם והרוחב קאי, ואומרים למסכת נגילה שנסגאי לו ונוסו ישוע ואוכו משמע דקנאים שבסייכל דיבה כל המקבל מויסו. פקטי סקש. So Ktesis v'shema al pi adibro, maybe there was a Rosh to have exception to the rule by Rochov. Then Taisus says, ve'ein loy ma shekoidim she'ischilu ha'mulchama yomekablim oisom, she'aksivas ha'torah loy yokoidim she'itchilu b'mulchama, afilu achol ha'mekablim ela yoishvim chutz Eretz Yisrael. Miu motzinu l'meima. This is Taisus. This is an international thesis. There's a wealth of literature written about this forthcoming two sentences and thesis. Umiu motzinu loimar lemeimar deim oyu choizim b'tshuva b'shor shekosrim satayre afilu knanim shebesoicho yomekablim. Tosfos comes along and says, yes, charata, from what he says before, that while they were writing the Torah, in other words, there was a cutoff time until they wrote the Torah on the Avonim, and during the ganze Shmuos, the Yavitz, what happened during the day that they came in the morning, afternoon, at night. But until this cutoff day that they wrote on the Avonim, anybody wanted to do tshuva, even the Knainim that lived in Eretz Yisrael, you accept them. So if Shitas Rashi doesn't make any difference between when the Kabbalah's Geiris won, when was Tshuva done, when was Kriya L'Sholem done. Rashi's Boru Milalu, Yoshvei Eretz Canaan, if they're from Zion Amamin, you don't accept them. Shitas HaTeises, and that's Vice Teis Azei State in Sifri and Yerushalmi, that Klape, one Teretz Teises holds like Rashi, and he says it was a Yehoshua. The second Teretz Teises, that's how Teises holds, that's how it keeps on going, it's a very long Teises in Seitin Daflamet Hey, that until this moment that Klal Yisrael wrote the Torah on the Avonim, anybody who wanted to do tshuva and be megayer and accept the Kriya L'Sholem, which means they have to be megayer, they have to be mekabel mitzvahs, they have to be kabbalah so mitzvahs, then they're being accepted. And Rochov was Nizgairo at least at this interim. Was she megayer? We saw Tosfos in Megillah. There's a possibility she crossed the Jordan River, she hopped over to Arvas Moav, and she was married Yericho, she Megayer. Then maybe she was Megayer, the two people, Pinchas and Kol, that came to her house. We saw different shitas. Ba'al Koponim, you could make Geiris according to Tosfos Shita until the Torah is sealed, signed, and confirmed on the Avonim on the day of Yud Nisan. Asoro Nisim Shteit Tesefta Nasu, Lavasei in the Beis Hayoim. One of them was going 60 miles back and forth, writing the whole Torah, going back to Gilgal. A ganze Maisiv. Brachos, Klolis, there was a major Kfisas Haderech on that day. But sometime during the day they wrote the Torah. Until that moment that they wrote the Torah, the halacha was that you accept them, and therefore you're accepting them. When Rochov comes along, Ve'ato Yishovuli B'Hashem, Ki Yosisi Mochem Chesed V'Asisi B'Esiv. What is the word Ve'ato that the Goyen is struggling with? What's Ve'ato? So last week we spoke one mahalach. The pasuk says ve'ato, perhaps what she's saying to them, listen guys, we're holding right now, with Machlekes Rashi and the Goyen, where are we holding? We're either holding in Zion Nisan, Beis Alofim, Tov Pei Ches, or we're holding in Ches Nisan. Either way. Or Rashi says maybe it was 3 days before Rashi had such a Rashi. The week prior to them coming into Eretz Yisrael. In 4 days' time, 3 days' time, 7 days' time, they'll be crossing the Jordan River, come in to Har Evo, put up the 12 Avonim, write the Torah, and from that moment on, the door is closed. From here, Atzev Kol Aderes, Shiva Amamim is no longer entering Klal Yisrael. So she is telling them she wants to make a shvur, they should make Hatzolas Nefashos, because he's a deal with Sechai Kol Neshama. She's not stupid. She knows that she is going to be killed because Achrim Tachrim L'Sechai Kol Neshama. Ve'ato Ishavuli. I want this business deal, commencement date is now, not in a week. Because in a week from now, Yichul Tshuvaton is going to helfen. In a week from now, it's not going to help. So I would like this whole transaction to take place today. And that's the word Ve'ata Ishavuli. We're right now holding in the very last moments of my ability to be accepted in Klal Yisrael as a member of the tribe, and therefore there won't be a chiyuv l'sechai kol neshama. Okay, I would like to go.
The Rambam Shita, what's the Rambam? The Rambam Shita is that Shalom is forever, even for Amalek.
The Rambam has a Shita that even Amalek we spoke about. We're going to speak about it in Perek Daled Beharachov to shiur. Let's go. No. Let's go to Pasuk Yud Gimel, and that's what the shiur today is about. Vayachayisem es ovi ves imi ves achai ves hachoisi ach yoisai. Shaila, she had one sister, two sisters. Ves kol asher lohem veitzaltem et nafsheisenu mimoves. Okay, she's saying two things. She's asking Ishovuli ve'achayisem, please make sure that my father, my mother, my brother, my sisters, and everybody, you should save es nafsheisenu mimoves. But if you look at the pasuk, it's a diuk from the Malbim that the pasuk is really dissected to two. At the beginning of the pasuk, when she says She's saying v'achayisem. What does v'achayisem mean? Please make sure they stay alive. Make sure that me, my parents, my brothers, my sister, and their household stay alive. That's what she says. The end of the pasuk, then she says, "V'itzaltem es nafsheseinu mimoves." What does that mean? What does it mean v'itzaltem? He says, make sure we are alive. What's v'itzaltem es nafsheseinu mimoves? Says the Malbim. Posh the Pshat. Says, number one, make sure we're not getting killed. Wait, number one, make sure where we don't get killed. Me and my parents, my brothers and sisters do not get killed. That's number one. Number two, so toch komen frume menschen. So toch komen frumakes. They're going to come, people are going to come. And guess what says? It's a chayko neshama. Chazanish, shiur, daf glei hagenin. So somebody's going to come to kill. I'm asking you, I said them that you and your people are going to know not to kill us. There may be some kind of a hot-headed guy who's going to come, who's going to say, I'm going to kill you. I'm asking you that a part of you not being active and you making sure that we are alive, make sure that if anybody else from Klal Yisrael is coming and he wants to wage a war, wants to kill any member of my family, please make sure that our nefashos are mutal mimoves. So what do they answer? Take a look. What do they answer? Look at the pasuk. Nafshenu sachtechem lomus im lo yisagidu es dvoreinu ze v'hoyo beses Hashem lo nesoretz v'osinu imoch chesed ve'emes. They say, we accept. If you keep the deal and you're quiet and you don't tell anything about us to the kings and we're not going to get killed, we're going to run away in a minute. We are still in a war zone right now. What does it mean, nafshenu sachtechem lomus? I would like to read 4 words from the Radak. Onu nimser nafshenu sachtechem lomus lemi sheyirtze lahomis eschem. If somebody's going to want to come kill you or any member of your family, I'm going to be a human shield, me, Kalev, and Pinchas, and we're going to make sure that nobody is going to go ahead and shoot neither you or any one of your family members. Doesn't say anywhere that Rochav didn't ask. Didn't ask you should become a human shield. Rochav said, please make sure I don't get killed. Make sure you're chaim. Second of all, if somebody will come in and wants to become a hot-headed, and wants to say, yeah, I'm going to kill you, you're going to save us. But wo steht that you're going to have to stand in front of the guy who's shooting the bullet to kill the father of, and to become nafshe taktechem lomos? That's number one. First of all, she never asked. Number two, if a guy is a hot-headed guy, he's going to kill, and he's going to kill Pinchas on the way, does anybody think that he's going to stop right there? He means to kill Rochav and her entire family. Teretz, Pinchas and Kalev said, we're going to serve as human shields. We're going to stand in front of it, so if the guy shoots, he knows he's shooting me. The guy's going to kill me. I'm willing to get killed. So is that going to save Rochav? It's not going to save Rochav. The guy is he's going for Rochav. He's not going to kill Pinchas. He's not going to kill Kalev. That's the 2 questions. Teretzis, behechrech. And here I would like to focus, I want you to stay very tuned, because we're going to speak about Eidele, very, very paper-thin Havana in the entire sugi here. Maybe, Fadei Pikuach Nefesh, that we're going to be human shields, they never meant. Never meant. The Rambam state, and I read it, Kol hayochel lahatzil. Let's say you could save somebody else. It's just somebody's in sakona. Ha'oiver al isamer dal dam reyacho. V'chen haroyes chavero tevea bayam. V'yochol la'atzil lo yehu be'atzmo. She'izko acherim la'atzil lo yitzil. Oy sheshoma goyim o moisrim mechashvim al ovrov toimim lo yipach v'lo yigil lo oizen chavero v'yidiyo. O sheyoda begoyo be'ana shu koiver al chavero v'yochol lefaisoy biglal chavero v'lahasir mashalim v'lo yipis v'chol kakayoytze b'hem. Ho'oise oido oisom oiver al isamer dal dam reyacho. There's a halacha. If you see your friend, your fellow friend, going to get killed, going to drown, going to die, a guy is going to take his neshama, and you don't do anything to be matzil him, you could be matzil. Either yourself, or you could rent a diver to go into the ocean to save somebody else, and you don't do it. Steht in Rambam, you over on the law of Leisamud Adam Reyecho. The Rambam later on, this is all the Rambam in Hilchos Ritzeach, Aval HaGoyim, she'ein beineinu ubeino milchoma v'roi beim edakom Yisrael v'kayesel, ein mesabevim lohem amisa. You don't cause them to die. The Rambam was talking first in the category of apikursim and machtia arabim, that you are mesabev demita. Ve'osur lehatzilom im notu lomus. כגון שלא אחד מהם שנופל לים, אינו מעלה ושנמה ליסם אל אדם ריחו. שיטס הרמב"ם ואין זה ריחו. שיטס הרמב"ם בול מיללו, it's not 100% agreed upon by all Rishonim, that if a goy is in the matzav and sakana, and you see a goy going to die, there is no mitzvahs hatzola of lisamoid al dam recho. The Rambam says, osur lahatzilo. The Rambam goes furthermore. If you see somebody, a goy, or megadle behemodako, roy behemodako, zog the Rambam, shelo echad mehem shenofel bayam eino mahaleyu. If you see a goy drown in the ocean, the Rambam starts off with osur lahatzilo, and the Rambam later softens his language and says, Einoi Ma'alei. How much is the Chayvas Ishtadlis for Hatzolas Haveir? Let me tell you, this is a question in Eretz Yisrael, unfortunately, I'm going through right now with the terrorist attacks. It's a question which is started off in the Chazon Ish in the Briskerov times, and went on to Rabbi Zalman and Rabbi Yashiv's times. And the question is, how much is a person, forget about Goyim a second, let's put Yid. There's a deal of Leisamid Adam Reyecho. If you see somebody, you could save him. You're mechuyev to do it. If you close your eyes, you don't do it. You're oivan lav minater Leisamid Adam Reyecho. Could I, should I, could I, may I put myself in the matzav of Sofek Pikuach Nefashos to be matzil somebody else a vadei Pikuach Nefesh? In other words, I'm a lifeguard. There's a black flag, you're not allowed to go into the ocean. This lifeguard says you're not allowed to go in. But I am pretty good. So I'm going to jump in and I'm going to save somebody else. He's drowning. I'm going to save him. The question is, by me jumping into the black flag ocean, I am putting myself in a risk. There's a certain sofek pikuach nefesh which I'm doing in order to save a vadei pikuach nefesh. What is the halacha of sofek pikuach nefesh versus a vadei pikuach nefesh? This, unfortunately, is a question which is many times you have an Arab coming in, and he's stabbing, he's running, and you're going to go there and you're going to dismantle him in order to save somebody else. So you are a sharpshooter, you know what you're doing, but the guy is running with a knife, he may come and stab you and kill you. So the question is there a heter, is there a chayver to be putting yourself into sofek pikuach nefashos in order to be vaday matzil pikuach nefashos? Does that fall into the category of leisamid adam reyecho or not? Zok de Agoras Maimoni, Chidish, שגם אם עבור הצולס חברו צורך להכניס בסוף פיקוח נפש, והטעם בזה מסבר בכסף מישה, quote unquote, שהלא ודאי והוא סופק. So the Kesef Mishnah Ashtikol Teireh, this guy is drowning, he's definitely going to get killed. If I don't jump in right now and save him, he's definitely going to kill him. And me, it's only a suffix because I know how to swim and I'm a professional lifeguard. So since he's a vada and I'm a suffix, then he's a halacha of leisamoid al dam reyecho. The Sma in Shulchan Aruch, he says, Kol gdoila poiskim lo yaviu dover zeh. Never heard of such a thing that I'm supposed to go ahead and save somebody else's life on account of my suffix pekuach nefashos. And therefore he says, halacha lemaiseh, osur lahachnis atzma l'sofek sakone, even for vadai hatzolas nefashos. It's interesting. Rab Kvege in the Agoras in Shulchan Aruch Chitov Chavov, Rab Kvege says he doesn't understand. He says because al cheshben there is no sofek versus vadai, because if I'm going to die, I'm not going to be able to save him. I'm jumping into the swimming pool. If I'm going to die, I'm never going to save him. So it's not sofek versus vadai. It's a sofek hatzolah and a sofek pekuach nefesh. So Rab Kvege is sofek against the sofek. So, wo steht der Heter? Very say, I'm jumping in. What is a suffix? That I'm going to drown. What's a suffix? I'm going to go in front of this mechabel mitabed, and I'm going to get the guy's going to stab me and not going to stab him. So, avivait, it's a sofek pekuach nefesh, so I'm not going. It's not a vadei hatzola. He's putting up the shaila. Shaila is what happens if it's really sofek and it's a vadei hatzola. If he has one bullet left, and if he's going to shoot me, he's not going to shoot him. But as I zog, it's a very, very interesting shaila from, the Torah Tmima on the Chumash brings down. He says a raya that Gemara says in Brachas and the Flamet Gimel Maise. Really interessante Sachen in Paskin Shaloch al Maise. The Gemara says Maise be'oroid hechon she'yom mazik esabriya. There was an oroid which used to bite and used to kill the people. Bo voidiu Rab Chanina ben Doisa. The Gemara in Brachas the Flamet Gimel. Omalem haru li eschayre. Show me where is his hole. Nosan akevoy al pi achoyer. He put his shoe, his heel, al pi achoyer. Yotzoy. The Ora came, u'neshochoy, u'meisa Ora. The Ora died. Rab Chanina ben Doisa died, the Ora died. Fragt der Marsho, im Toimar, ich nicht Rab Chanina ben Doisa Hatzmah v'sakonas nefashos. Sofek sakon. So be'emes the Gemara in Tainis, steht in the Gemara, in Kama Mekoyim, steht Rab Chanina ben Doisa was melumet ben Nisim. So comes out, zog the Torah Tmima, that by him it was a Sofek sakon. And Klape Achirim, the Ora was a vadei sakon. So the fact that he put himself into the hole of the Oreg Zaraya, that you put yourself into a Sofek Sakona. Yenes Melumet Benisim is Ken Zayin Sofek Sakona is echt nicht. I wasn't there, and I did never check the Melumet Benisim exactly his forte. But as I said, the Torah Tmim is Zaraya as Rab Chanina ben Doisa was a Sofek, and he was Melumet Benisim was only a Sofek, so Mele. He was mechuyev to put his foot on top of the hole and to, what's his name? The Gemara comes along, the Gemara, Tzvete Gemara. The Gemara in Ksubis and Daf Samachal says a story, a very interesting story, that Rav Ashi and Mar Zutra came to visit the king. And Mar Zutra was very hungry, didn't eat for a whole day, and they're bringing in this lavish food, lot kosher, and they put it in front of the king. The king is coming into the room, and Mar Zutra he wanted to take part of it. Steht in Gemara that Rav Ashi took from his finger into the baked potatoes, royal baked potatoes, and he was Michael Mar Zutra because he was Misavel, and Michael he was Michael. And then steht was Maisa Gemara in Ksubis of Samachal on the base. Zog dem Shita Mekubetzes, quote unquote. Yishloim da Eire sheporcho beruach tsaras b'Mar Zutra. Umeroiv taiva v'nistaken lemiso v'mosar Rav Ashi atzmoi lemiso. He was like put himself to danger when he's sitting in front of the king. Bring to us in front of the king. There's a malchut soilom. They're bringing the food for the king, and the guy is taking his finger, he's taking the potatoes. The king is giving it over to what's his name. So how is he putting himself on? Eichet. Gemara steht as somach tanise. Omalei. Gemara fragt akasha. Somach tanise. What do you do it? Steht in Rishonim, mimois Rebbe ve'ad Ravashi lo yimotzinu Torah v'gdula b'mokamecho as mekurv l'melech. So Mele, he trusted that the melech is not going to do anything to him. So Bain was a Sofek Sakona, it wasn't a Vadei Sakona. By him, he was pocho b'tzara, so he was misave achosei bulmus. If he wouldn't eat from this royal potato chips, he would die. So Mimele, that was a Sofek Sakona for his Vasakon. This shmuas is a major shmuas that everybody talks about. What happened that Sofek Pekuach Nefashos versus Vadei Pekuach Nefashos. So even if the Pinchas and Kol of the two Meraglim, they want to go into Sofek Pekuach Nefesh, also not allowed to do it. If we pass Chazei Paskim Shulchan Aruch, Hakos Ma'im Nishteit Ishtazei, you're not allowed to put yourself in. When Nafshenu Sachteichem Lomus, doesn't mean we're going to get killed, but we're going to put ourselves into danger. We're willing to stick our neck out. And if somebody's shooting you, we're going to stand in front of him. And then we're willing to endanger our life in order to make sure that your family is being safe. So it's totally in the shaila. And if you hold a bam, Sofek Pekuach Nefashos, you're not allowed in Vadai. So I'd like to take it a step further. I want you to listen very carefully. The Kol HaTorah Kula, the halacha is, if a goy comes over to you, be mechal Shabbos, eat nevelos and treifas, be levish kilayim, drink bosa b'cholov. The halacha is yaver v'al yehorik. The goy said, if you're not mechal Shabbos, I'm going to kill you. K'toy las paste, mechuyev to be keteilas pas. Exception to the rule is 3 mitzvahs. What's shfichus damim? If a guy comes over to you, he points a gun at you, and he tells you kill your friend sitting right next to you. If you don't kill him, I'll kill you. So be'emes is, the Gemara says in kol ha'terei the halacha is that you're not supposed to, Torah did not make yourself to become a suicidal if there is no chance of being Mekayim. Be over the Aver b'Mechal Shabbos, eat chazer, and don't get killed. But if a guy tells you, if you don't kill, I'll kill you. So it means to say, be'emes, if I'm going to be done on the etzem, the lav of le'sirtzach, be a soidoi, shouldn't be then different than the lav of Chil Shabbos and the lav of Machol Sasuritz. But Gemara says here the halacha is Yehoreg val Yava. Let yourself get killed and don't kill the other guy. Why? More says Svaru. My chos is a domer zidach somach tvei dil medayim domedahu. Who says? Rashi says one guy is going to get killed. So the nefesh, who says whose nefesh is more choshev in front of a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Therefore, you're supposed to let yourself be killed and not kill someone else. So the halacha is poshut b'kol ha'terei kula Yehoreg val Yavo val Yehoreg. In shfichus domim, the halacha is Yehoreg val Yavo. But what happens? Somebody is roidev after somebody else to kill him. Roidev achar chaveiloi lehorgoi. Now, I have 2 choices. I could theoretically go ahead and kill the roidev and save the nirdev, or I could let the roidev go ahead and kill the nirdev. Now, what's going to happen? Let's make a little bit mortgage calculator. If we're going to take right now, and I am going to let the roidev kill the nirdev, what's going to be the score? It'll be 1 dead guy. If I'm going to take my gun and shoot and kill the roidev and save the nirdev, so the guy who's going to get killed is not the nirdev, but the roidev. The halacha is you mechuyev to kill the roidev lahatzil nafshay shel nirdev, even in the cheshbon of killing the roidev. So be'emes is, if I were to take the parameters of regular pikuach nefesh kol ha'terei kula, I would say the same thing if somebody tells me go kill somebody else. If not, I'm going to kill you. The halacha is get killed and don't kill someone else. My chos is domach lidach. Why in the world in roidev did the Torah said go ahead and kill the roidev to save the nirdev? What are you doing in essence? You're killing Ruvain in order to save Shimon. What is the difference, the fundamental difference between if the guy tells you kill the other guy, if not you getting killed, the halacha is let yourself be killed. But if somebody's going to kill somebody, you mechuyev to be matzil the nafshay shel nirdev, even b'nefesh haroidev. So the Rambam says, it's a very sophisticated Rambam. Here is a chiddush HaTorah. The Torah says a chiddush that although in regular pikuach nefesh the halacha is Yehoreg val Yaver, and you do not kill somebody b'yadayim, let yourself be killed. Here, do not let the nirdev be killed and kill the roidev. Why? The Rambam says this is gufa the gzeres hakasav the Torah leisochu seinecho of the nefesh haroidev, and go ahead and kill him. If you see somebody, or b'nai marasa, the same thing. If you see somebody going to kill somebody, that's the halacha. State in Rambam, that's gufa the chiddush HaTorah of roidev, that you kill the roidev in order to save the nirdev. So what is the halacha here? Is here, do we say that since the one who initiated this ritziche, this redife, is the roidev, so fell away the svar of my chozes the domadidoch. He himself initiated this potential death that's going to happen here within 30 seconds. So about he created it, fell off the svar of my chozes domadidoch somach tvei, and therefore you kill the roidev if you save the nirdev. Is that the pshat? Oh, zogt Reb Chaim in Sefer, that's not the pshat. The pshat is be'emes machmas the halacha of kol ha'terei kula. The halacha should have been my chazos remains even in roidev. But there's a bezunder halacha mitzvah seser Hatzolas Nefashos, which overrules and overpowers all the Shulchan Aruch of Pikuach Nefesh Deiche Kol HaTorah. Chaim Shaila is, am I killing the Roidef? Because in this particular case, since he initiated the Redife, Dama Didei Samak Tfei, the Dama of the Nirdof is more stomach, and therefore come back to the Cheshbon, it's different. When I'm getting killed passive, not killing somebody else, my Chazis. But when he initiated, he created the Chazis, he right away, right now, he infused more blood in the Nirdof's body, and therefore you kill him because Chazis v'Chazis. That's the Pshat. Or no. The MSC bleibt als the Cheshbon for my Chazis. At the end of the day, the mortgage calculator tells me the bottom line, the score is going to be one guy killed. Doesn't make a difference. If he's getting killed, if the Roidef is killed, the Nirdov is killed. But the Torah says, Dal me'ochel. Ein noch an else. The regular Hatzolas Nefashos, there is no halacha. But here there is a halacha in order to save the Nirdov. The Torah says, L'sochas einech. So Dr. Chaim, I'll bring you a raya. Because where do you learn the din of Hatzolas Nefashos? The Gemara says, where do you learn the din? The din you learn, steht in Dr. Chaim, you learn it out from Hashoifech dam ha'odom be'odom doma yishofech. This pasuk is said by Benoach. There is no chiyuv of pikuach nefesh to save the life of a Benoach. And yet, this is the source to say that you kill the Reidef in order to save the Nirdef. So that the reasoning for killing the Reidef is not because here Doma Didech Samuk Tfei, because if that would be the case, why in Benoach there is a din of a Reidef Benoach? If you see somebody running after Benoach, and by the way, there's no difference if the Reidef is Yisrael or the Reidef is a Benoach. If you see somebody running after Benoach, the halacha is also mechuyev to be matzil, kill the Reidef Benafshe Shel HaNirdef. You matzil the Reidef Benafshe Shel HaNirdef. So to Chaim, there is no din for Chai Boer by Benoach. There's no halacha. Here we just read the Rambam. Somebody sees somebody, there's no mitzvah to save a life of a goy who's drowning in the water. And yet, if somebody's running after Benoach, there's a mitzvah to kill the Reidef Benafshe Shel HaNirdef. So Reb Chaim behechrech, the halacha is, it's not a chozis, my chozis, the doma didoch somot feidikadin, but it's a halacha of lahatzil l'sal Reidef Benafshe Shel HaNirdef. Now what happens if you're going to save a goy? Is that a mitzvah or is that a reshus? Now you have to save a goy. A goy is being nirdef. Is it, now the Torah says you kill the Reidef Benafshe Shel HaNirdef. Is this a must or it's permissible? Here is a major machlekes. So Chaim seems to be saying that the same mitzvah of Hatzolas Nefashos, which it says by Yid, is said by a goy. Minchas Chinuch says not like that. Since explicitly, even though there's an inyan, there's a reshus to kill the Reidef who's coming to kill a Benoach, but it's only reshus, unlike by Israel, where there's a mitzvah to kill the Reidef Benafshe Shel HaNirdef. Now that we know that the halacha of Hatzolah is not a din, a sniff, a branch of regular Pikuach Nefesh Dikadin, but it's a din of Hatzolas Nefashos Benafshe Shel HaReidef, the question is where at stake is life-saving of a goy. Do we know at this particular moment the life-saving of a goy? Is it a din, a mitzvah? Minchas Chinuch, and I would like to read the Minchas Chinuch. V'nire be'einai deleka mitzvah v'chiyuv lahatzel b'noach ha'nirdov v'lo yihave elo reshus be'almo v'nitn lahatzel ha'nirdov af b'nafshay shel ha'reidef. Well, if that's the case, I'd like to suggest, you don't have too much time, I'd like to suggest one of the two options in Nafshenu Sachteichem Lomus. They be'emes say mitzad ha'atzola of Pikuach Nefesh, there wouldn't have been a halacha of Nafshenu Sachteichem Lomus. There is no din of going to save, putting yourself into Mokum Sakar. But we're talking about a case where somebody else is going to kill them. And in as much as there is a shvur right now, there is no halacha l'sechai kol neshama, for whatever reason, we spoke about the Marshal, it's a Pikuach Nefesh that outruled the din of l'sechai kol neshama. Okay, even the family that wasn't Megayer, because she could have been moised them at the time. Right now, she's telling the king of Yericho is knocking on the door outside, so she could kill them. Look, the Marshal, that was the heter to make a shvur against l'sechai kol neshama, even if the Bnei HaMishpacha were Megayer, the Shaila you asked before. So Mimele, אין נכונמי, נפשנו סחתיכם lomus mitzad chiyuv Hatzolas Nefashos, the Meraglim would have never used the word nafshenu sachtechem lomus, because they're not allowed to put yourself in even into a suffix sakana in order to save somebody else's nefesh. But the kavanah was because since when they're going to give instructions not to kill, and somebody's going to go kill, he's going to have a din of ereidif. Here there's a halacha that we're supposed to save the nafshe shel ereidif, shel aniyadov. Nafshenu sachtechem lamus, we're going to have the chiyuv hatzola, and according to Reb Chaim, it's a chiyuv hatzola, even benafshe shel aniyadov. That is a whole shaila here. We don't